The Animal Part 4. The sky was colored pink and the sun setted by the time they arrived on the island. The massive blue bird dropped them off on top of a fat, tall baobab tree. The woman huffed and grunted as blood oozed out of her furry pelts. She dared not to move, for with each step, tiny drops of blood trickled onto the bark of the tree. What was the boy to do if the woman died right there and then? He had little survival skills outside of what the simple village life has taught him. Then, with a smile of assurance, the woman turned towards the boy with the large leaf in hand. It was soaked with a liquid that smelled so foul it made the boy gag.
Ugh, what is that?
It's medicine. Then, in broad strokes, she rubbed the leaf across the wound. It crackled and fizzed against the fur. With that, the pain subsided and the wound no longer leaked blood. Do not worry about me. I just need to sleep it off. In the meantime, can you please just gather as much fruits and nuts as you can? This is gonna be a long recovery. Then she collapsed on the floor.
Where can I get them?
Pondered the little boy. His little eyes examined his surroundings, and at the corner of the tree was a large branch covered in dense foliage. Within the brush hanged plump, football-shaped neon green fruit. With extreme caution, Adam inched his way towards the fruit, plucked it, and made it back to the security of the tree. By the time he gathered a pile of fruit, the savannah was engulfed in entire darkness. Adam was too terrified to move away from the injured woman, for who knows what lay under the cover of darkness in the savannah. He sat there for hours until his little eyes began to wander into the land of dreams. In a fit of tossing and turning, the woman awoke to a cold blue savannah that is bathed in the eerie light of the moon. Within the ebony sky emitted the trumpeting of elephants, the cackling of wild hyenas, and the bellowing of the buffaloes. However, she paid no attention to the wilderness, for in her stomach were tiny pieces of lead painfully pressing against her abdominals. The frail old fingers dug deep into the bullet hole, huffing and cursing silently as to not wake the small child. Slowly but carefully, she pulled out several small round red pellets. With the pile of baobab fruits and nearby herbs, she ground it into a sweet-smelling ointment, applied it to the small wounds, and returned to sleep. Within the next couple of days, she instructed the little boy in medicinal practices and habitually applied the man-made concoction to the injury. The recovery was rapid. In just 3 days, she can walk with a mild discomfort below her abdomen. The boy himself was improving on the remedy. His execution was at first sloppy, unmeasured and tainted, but now he got the recipe down with extreme accuracy. Days later, she asked the boy this question. "Do you remember why I brought you here on this island?" She asked the boy while they were feasting on the hind leg of an antelope. He slowly shook his head. "It is because of your instincts. You are driven by it."
I don't know what you mean by that.
Remember when you threw that squirrel into that cougar's mouth? How did you feel then?
Afraid of dying?
Well, if you think about it, that is what existing is about. Instinctively doing whatever you can in order to survive. However, you are not without your kindness for other forms of life. I have heard boys your age do vicious things to animals for entertainment. But you helped creatures out that were defenseless and weak all throughout your life, like those baby turtles that morning.
How did you know about that?
The birds sang about it for the last several months, she said with a smile. That is why I'm going to help you control your instincts, so you can become brave and make rational decisions with your kind heart.
How are we going to do that?
By surviving. In 3 months, day and night, she taught the boy how to hunt, make remedies, forge items, and to live off the land. She even made him eat raw, bloody flesh, saying it was not only good for overcoming basic bacteria, but raw flesh is the purest form of protein there is. From the raw meat, Adam came down with a severe case of food poisoning, but with several herbs and spices, she concocted a drink that immediately cured him. They set up camp in the middle of the grass plains where the old lady constructed a hut that was made from multiple hides of different animals. He laid there awake most nights, wondering how his family is doing without him. But the same question kept on going through his mind. Why would they give him up like that? And what was that strange scent that day? Adam looked towards the old woman. I bet she caused it. And her strength that day was so unreal. More animal-like than human. What are you thinking about, boy? The woman laid there, covered with heavy animal pelts, and her eyes were shut, but somehow she knew that the boy was curious about something.
How did you do it, Smash through those people?
Answer is too complicated for tonight. I will tell you within a year's time from now, she groggily said.
Well, do you have a name?
My name is Atandra.
Well, try to shorten it, Atandra.
The old body cracked as she got up. There was a tiredness within the old voice, and the moonlight added more wrinkles to her soft aging skin. She extended a long bony hand towards the boy and stated, I can control my body at an unbelievable level. That includes my muscles. Her thin, lanky arms began beefing up 5 times its original size, with veins heavily bulging out, and the muscles became more iron than flesh.
Whoa! What else can you do?
Adjust my eyes to see into the dark, breathe underwater, even walk on it if I have to.
Last one is pretty cool, but the rest sound like lame powers. Show me something else.
Oh, I don't know. There's this amazing thing called sleep.
Was it you who caused that scent back there?
Yeah, like I said, a year's time I will explain how I'm able to do all these things. Now sleep. As she breathed out, a strange scent filled the air. Adam suddenly felt heavy and sleepy, and before he knew it, he blacked out. Within the following weeks, Tundra started acting strange. In the mornings, she was nowhere to be found, but when noon approached, she was there at the campsite, acting like nothing has happened. This went on for a full month until she asked a simple question. I feel like I have been with you long enough. Do you feel comfortable enough to hunt on your own? Asked Tundra. Adam stared questioningly back, and then he slowly nodded. Then do it yourself. I am not gonna help you this time. Adam couldn't believe the words that spilled out of her mouth.
But I will starve.
Well, I gave you the tools. Let's see what you got. She handed him a small spear. A grunt escaped Adam's scowling face as he gripped the spear tightly.
Lousy lady.
The next couple of days, he was unable to catch anything and ended up not eating. He even ended up losing his spear on his first day of hunting alone. By the time night arrived, he rocked himself back and forth, muttering,
If I panic, I will die.
Until he fell asleep. On the 4th day, out of sheer luck, he snagged a rabbit. He stood over the freshly conquered kill and cheered.
Finally, I can eat. And best of all, I can eat it my way. And it is all because of that little saying.
The little piece of that brown rabbit roasted over the fire. The smell made the stomach grumble in anticipation. Adam bit a big chunk out of it, and the taste was bitter. He cooked it all the way. It should taste good, but the flavor is way off. He looked over at the carcass and licked it. The meat, it was so sweet and savory. So he bit into the hindquarters of the varmint. Good, you're learning, the woman said nearby while laying on the rock lazily.
Yup, thanks for all the help out there. It's not like I could have died of starvation.
Well, if I helped, you wouldn't be ready for what I got for tomorrow. Adam looked inquisitively.
What are we gonna do tomorrow?
You will see, she said with a smirk. The next day, the old lady vanished without a trace, nowhere to be seen. Adam searched for her for days until he gave up.
I bet she's gonna return. Might as well stay at the campsite.
The next day, he caught food poisoning again and came down with a fever, but after sleeping in the cool shade of the trees, he quickly overcame the illness. The nights were the most dangerous, for the wild beasts would attack relentlessly, seeing the tiny, frail human as easy prey. Only a blazing stick warded off the pursuing beast. While hunting one afternoon, he accidentally triggered a stampede of African buffalo, but somehow managed not to get trampled, although it did destroy his shelter. All he had was that one small sentence that gave him strength to go on.
If I panic, I die. If I panic, I die.
That phrase alone was his shield, his sword, his armor against the many dangers of the wilderness. He fought against the many beasts and the wilderness for a full month until one day he was woken up by a tundra.
Where were you? You got up and left me in the wilderness.
Well, I did give you the skills to survive, and you're not dead, so you passed your test. She gave him a thumbs up. Plus, you shouldn't rely on me so much. I'm very old and I don't know how much I got left.
Yeah, whatever. Wait, leaving me alone was a test?
Yep, I wanted to make sure you were ready for this step. A large black scorpion scuttles from her forearm to the palm of her hand. It was inches from Adam's face.
Jesus Christ, get that thing away from me!
What? You scared of this little thing? Psst. Truth be told, it should be scared of you.
That thing is poisonous!
Alright, first of all, this is an emperor scorpion, which means that it has non-lethal poison to humans. Second, the population is beginning to dwindle down to the point where they're about to go extinct. And third, guess who is bringing back the population? She looks at him.
I don't know how to bring a population back to normal, and why would I help something so disgusting? That thing is a combination of nightmares!
Well, despite how it looks, it plays a very important role in the food chain, just like every animal. One animal goes extinct, then it leaves the other ones unchecked or go extinct themselves. He sighs, sat there, and finally said,
How do I do it then? You know? Grow a whole population of a species?
By observing their habits at night. Then we protect them until their offspring are fully grown to make more.
But that could take forever!
Forever is a long time if you keep complaining. So if I were you, I would begin watching over the horde I gathered.
Horde?
The old lady pointed at a small ditch covered in leaves. It was wet and soggy.
I don't see anything.
Then the leaves began to shift. Carefully, the old lady brushed the leaves away to reveal a den full of it. There had to be at least 50 scorpions in that hole. Come on, you got a job to do now. Within 2 weeks, the old lady assisted in protecting the scorpions, gradually helping out less and less every day until she vanished once more. When the nighttime came around, the scorpions hunted, migrated, and slept. Why wasn't he in charge of repopulating birds or any other rodents, or a massive cool animal like an elephant or a rhinoceros? He thought to himself. Just then, a small chittering sound came from the dry grass. A meerkat popped its head from the bushes, nose twitching, its black eyes darting back and forth.
Get out of here!
Adam threw a rock at the little beast and it quickly scurried away. It has been 3 months since he took over the Emperor's Scorpion, and they are still not repopulating, and the meerkats, well, they were becoming a big problem. Every few hours, one would pop its head up and gaze at the scorpions with a hungry look. Lately, they have been coming in packs instead of one or two. Whether it be night or daytime, the varmint was always there, lingering and ready to eat the scorpions. Adam was growing tired from being in constant guard and having very little sleep. His eyes were so heavy and he struggled to stay awake. A large scorpion scuttled its way towards Adam, and with the snapping of its talons, it spoke. "Do not worry, man. I got this." It snatched up one of the meerkats with its terrible claws. One claw gripped the tail, while the other clasped the shrieking head, and with a sudden jerk, the meerkat was torn from the middle. The blooded organs rained onto the floor, and soon they began to form tiny statues of ape-like people. With one final shock, a large glob of blood shot out like a cannon from the dry husk of a body. It landed in a fantastic splash, and a large ape-like man rose from it. He looked at the boy with savage eyes, and his mouth slowly began to move.
"Wake up."
Am stood there, and once more the ape man said,
"Wake up. They are dying.
What? Who's dying?
Open your eyes."
He woke up to find a large pack of meerkats had made their way deep in the burrows of the leaves. He quickly chased them away and saw what was left. Only a single one. It was scurrying alongside the bits and pieces of its fellow emperor scorpions.
Oh no.
He muttered. The last one. Its species is doomed to never walk the earth again. With the coming months, the scorpion died of old age, leaving the night owls who once hunted these creatures with no food. One night while walking through a dense forest, Adam saw a tundra. She was looming over a corpse of a scrawny owl, which was nothing but furry skin and bones. She gave a glance at the boy, then started to bare her teeth. Her canines grew larger, and her fingernails became razor sharp the more bestial she got. Boy, I told you that every species plays a part to this delicate ecosystem. Have you not learned nothing from these months I have taught you?
I know. I tried my best, but those meerkats kept on persisting.
If something comes and threatens to destroy a population, you should kill it. The meerkats would have been gone if you had just killed them off. You should have made this your territory, not the other way around. You let them establish and wear you down. A tundra quickly grabbed one that was nearby its neck. The little creature yelped and screamed and was frantically clawing at the tundra's hand. With a quick jerk, there was a sudden snap, and the meerkat's body was lifeless. See? Now, one more time, I am going to let you take charge of a species. But if you fail, death is a far kinder punishment to what I am going to do to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now, I don't want you to move from that spot. The next animal that appears is a species you have to make sure survives.
What if I fail?
Now, you are already thinking about being a failure. As soon as you think that, it becomes your destiny. But if you think otherwise, you may succeed. With that statement, she became less beastly in appearance and reverted to her old age. They sat there, not exchanging words for a couple of minutes. Adam didn't want to say anything in fear of setting the woman off. A small butterfly eventually flew onto the shoulder of the old lady. A Wartburg Zulu. What a beautiful species to take care of. She cooed at the brightly colored insect. Now, I will help you for a week, but after that, you are on your own. Then with the speed of thought, a tundra's clawed hand was inches from the boy's neck. Beads of sweat and fear ran down Am's face. Now, a reminder. If you fail again, something worse than death will come for you. I promise that.
Yes.
Good. Now, let us begin. The butterfly flew away and they followed it into the deep African plains. It flew into the crack of a massive tree. With her mighty strength, a tundra dug her hand into the tree and tore it open. Inside the dense hollow tree was a fleet of butterflies, just resting in the cavities. "Don't you dare fail this time, goddammit," she said. They watched over the swarm diligently. As promised, the old lady left from the young boy's sight and did not return for a couple of months. The rain season came and gone. The butterflies migrated about a few dozen miles to seek a drier climate. Many predators came, but immediately Adam scared or killed them off. On one hot day, he was sitting underneath the cool shade of the tree when a strange ape approached the colony of butterflies. Its forehead was very large, the nose was squished up against its face, and the muzzle housed canine teeth so large that they peeked out from its lips.
Hey! Get out of here!
The ape began to screech and hoot while banging his fists against a broad muscular chest. Its body was rippled with muscles and veins protruding from every flex the beast did. The boy grasped his makeshift spear tightly, stretched his limbs as far as he could muster, and screamed. This only pissed off the ape, who immediately began to charge.
Oh shit.
The boy stuck out a spear and ran towards it. The beast just raised his fist and brought them down quickly. The boy jumped out of the way and the fist made a small crater. He jumped behind the ape and drove the spear into the mighty back. The large hand grabbed his leg and threw the boy across like a little rag doll. He slammed hard on the floor. The impact caused his vision to blur a little bit.
Damn. Just damn.
Adam staggered towards his feet. Everything hurt, and it was difficult to make out the shape of the animal through the haze. His vision soon began to take shape of an ape, pulling out the spear behind his back and throwing it into the long grass.
Come on then!
He stumbled towards the infuriated ape. A year ago, he would have shat his pants at the situation, but after living with the old lady and the time he spent alone in the wilderness made him indifferent to it. The beast balls his hands into fists and swung them violently towards the staggering boy. He rolled out of the way and ran into the grasslands to where he threw the spear. Behind him was the sound of heavy footsteps closing in. With a dive, he grasped the spear and held it close while lowering his center of gravity. He turned around and saw that the ape was in the air and it is bringing down all his power into one big hairy fist. Adam thrusted all his weight behind the spear. It landed dead center in the muscular, hairy chest. The heavy fist came down on his right side of his forehead. Adam blinked, and in that split second, he was no longer in the fight with the ape, but was instead in the middle of a white void of space. There standing was the same ape man he had in his dream. He stood over 7 feet tall, his arms reached to his kneecaps, and the legs were slightly smaller than the human's. Its nose was small and pushed in. His eyes were hazel and slightly red. His forehead was bigger than the human's, and his jaw was more like a chimpanzee than a man. He wore multiple animal pelts that were fastened by thick vines.
Boy,
He said in a growling tone. He placed his index finger upon the boy's forehead and began to transform into a mammal, reptilian, insect, fish, amphibian, bird hybrid.
help the animal kingdom. We need you to take up the responsibility. Please, for the good of all life on the planet. Focus.
Then, with one brilliant flash of light, Adam opened his eyes and was back in the fight. It was just a fraction of a second, but it felt like a whole minute. The mighty beast hunched over, his vicious face turned more somber and calmer. Blood gushed from the right pec muscle of the beast, but all Adam could feel was a severe migraine and trickles of blood running down his forehead. The ape collapsed with a heavy thud. Even in death, its eyes were filled with a primitive madness. It just occurred to Adam that his body hurt like hell and his vision was fading. Using the spear as a crutch, he hobbled over to the broken tree and peered inside. Some of the butterflies fluttered through the air while a majority of them lied in a cavity, but below them were hundreds of small orange eggs.
Thank God.
He turned to look at the dead muscular ape.
Yeah. I'll show ya.
With that, he collapsed. In his dream, Adam was back on the island, but it was in the middle of a tropical storm. The winds were so fierce it toppled over trees, and lightning crackled high above the clouds. The floor was wet and muddy, and the rain was heavy. Everyone was gathering the livestock and goods to a higher ground. Even Adam's own mother had oxen carrying 2 large carts up an incredibly steep hill. He had not seen his father since the storm started, and he has been missing for hours.
Have you seen Dad?
He went to go round up the rest of the livestock. Don't worry, he will be back. Just get to the shelter. On top of the hill was a gigantic cavern that had several thousands of people and cattle. Already upon arrival, it was incredibly cramped, but just enough room for Adam and his mother to make it in. Each person was an inch apart from one another and was next to a bleating sheep or a clucking hen. Within an hour, a black silhouette emerged through the thick rain. It was carrying something big over its shoulders, struggling against the fierce currents and thunderous roar of the storm. A couple of the villagers rushed quickly to help it. It was a man carrying a large cow over his shoulders. He had an exhausted but determined look on his face. "Leon, you crazy bastard, you trying to get killed out there? You went all the way out there for a freaking cow?" "What? It was scared. What was I supposed to do? Abandon it?" "Yes!" the men screamed at him. "Hell no, you guys are a bunch of freaking cowards."
Daddy!
Adam and his mom ran up to embrace him. "Dear, a cow would be at the center of the earth and you would still find a way to bring it up." She kissed him on the cheek. "I think my cat is somewhere out there, Leon. Why don't..." "Shut up." He slapped the guy in the back of the head. He suddenly had a feeling of large furry things crawling over his body. He opened his eyes to see the sight of small striped caterpillars covering his limbs. Beside him was a large furry army crawling from the broken tree stump. The butterflies were nowhere to be seen. They must have left when he was fast asleep.
Stage 1 complete,
he said to himself. The caterpillars continued to stay within the broken tree trunk, eating the dead leaves and bark off of the tree, growing fatter and larger with each passing day. Adam began setting elaborate traps around the broken tree trunk. It made the task less difficult and brought in fresh meat from the animals foolish enough to wander near the campsite. Eventually, the animal sightings became rarer and rarer, for they know that going near the open tree trunk means death. One day, when Adam returned from a brief hunting trip, he saw that the tree was covered in hundreds of orange cocoons.
Stage 2 complete.
But out in the distance was the same species of ape that attacked the young boy earlier. They were glaring at him with rage and ill intent in their hearts. Thank you so much for looking at my content, and be sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and the notification so you know when it's out. Yeah, so thank you so much once again, and peace.